Hello everyone. The topic to be today is the chapter A Truly Beautiful Mind. This chapter is a biographical sketch of the life, achievements and humanitarian attitude of the great genius Albert Einstein. So, this chapter is about Albert Einstein, his life, his achievements, and his attitude, that is humanitarian. This piece, the chapter that we are going to read, it tries to show him, it tries to show Albert Einstein as a human being, a fairly ordinary person who had his likes and dislikes, as everyone does have. He had got his streaks of rebellion. He was also of rebellious type of personality and his problems. So he led a very ordinary life as all of us are leading. The chapter talks about rational use of scientific inventions. This is also one of the themes of the chapter, the use of scientific inventions, because scientific inventions can be used in favor of humanity or it can be used for the purpose of destruction. It is about the qualities in human beings that make them genius or great persons. The chapter talks about human values, talks about human qualities that make that make human beings genius or great persons. Now let's have an overview of this chapter. It is about a young German civil servant who took the world by storm by publishing four groundbreaking papers about light, the motion of particles, the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. So, this chapter is about a German who was a civil servant there, and this German civil servant, he took the world by storm. He impressed the whole world by getting four groundbreaking papers on the topics light, motion of particles, the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. And we all know this German civil servant is, Albert Einstein. Einstein's childhood is also mentioned here in this chapter. He was a late speaker. He did not start speaking at the age when other children begin to speak. So he was a late speaker. He did not have many friends. He did not know what to do with friends. He did not know how to play with friends because he would play only with mechanical toys. His interest in science is also described here because he did not like history, he did not like other subjects, but he liked science, he liked maths. He did not like remembering the dates. Disliking the discipline of the school, and his disliking because he did not like the discipline, the regimentation of the school. So all these things are explained here in detail in this chapter. He liked Switzerland for liberal atmosphere. He did not like Germany because it was not a liberal city, but Switzerland was a liberal city and he wanted to carry on, he wanted to continue his study there in Switzerland. He started liking Mileva Mark and later married her, which proved to be a bad decision for him. So in Switzerland, he met Mileva Mark. She was also a genius. She was an intellectual. That's why he liked her and he wanted to marry her. But initially, in the beginning, his mother did not like that marriage. That's why the marriage got postponed there. But later on, he married that girl. But that marriage did not prove did not prove good to him. He was not happy with that marriage. He got Nobel Prize for his different scientific theories. He had given four scientific theories earlier that convulsed the whole scientific world, and he got Nobel Prize for his different scientific theories. He wrote to the American president about the dangers of the atomic bombs. When he heard about atomic bombs, he knew that atom bombs would create a lot of destruction. That's why he wrote a letter to one American president against the use of atom bombs. When the atomic bombs were dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, he was deeply shaken. But his letter did not prove effective. His letter did not change the mind of American president. Rather, he used atom bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and this scientist was really hurt. He was shaken from within. He entered politics, and then he came to know that he could not do anything, he could not change the present scenario if he was a scientist or if he would remain as a scientist. That's why he joined politics, because he wanted to change the world scenario. He wanted the world not to use weapons there in wars. He wanted peace in the world. He spent his later days advocating, championing world peace and democracy. And the last phase of his life was totally devoted to world peace and democracy. He died at the age of 76. He proved to be a world citizen and a truly beautiful mind. So, we will read in this chapter how he came to be as a world citizen and how he was a truly beautiful mind. Before you read, who do you think of when you hear the word genius? Whenever this word genius comes into our mind, what image comes there? Who is a genius? What qualities do you think a genius has? So, we will have the answer of these questions in the chapter. We shall now read about the young German civil servant who took the world by storm. This civil servant, he impressed the whole world, the whole scientific world, in fact, about 100 years ago. And this young German civil servant is Albert Einstein. In the summer 1905, the 26-year-old published in quick succession four groundbreaking papers. In 1905, Albert Einstein was 26 years old and he published in quick succession in a series, he published four groundbreaking papers, four papers that changed a lot. And those papers were about light, motion of particles, the electrodynamics of moving bodies, and energy. So these four topics were chosen by Albert Einstein, and he wrote his theory about these topics. His work took up only a few pages, though these topics took only some pages, or they were written only in some pages in scientific journals. But these theories changed forever our understanding of space. It changed the thinking of the scientists about space, about time, and even about the whole cosmos, the whole universe. Our idea, our thinking changed and transformed the name Einstein into a synonym for genius. And then we came to know that Einstein was really a genius. 50 years after his death, Albert Einstein's genius still reigns. Still, we remember Albert Einstein. We have not forgotten the contribution of this genius to the scientific world. A truly beautiful mind. Now let's read the chapter. Albert Einstein. He was born on 14th March 1879 in German city Ulm. He was born in Ulm without any indication that he was destined for greatness. And there was no hint, there was no sign that this child would be a great genius, would be one of the greatest scientists of all ages. There was no sign there in that child. Even he was not like normal children. On the contrary, he did not give any sign of any greatness in him. His mother thought Albert was freak. On the contrary, he was not looking normal, and his mother thought that he was unusual because he was behaving, he was looking, he was thinking not like other children, not like other persons. That's why his mother thought that he was a freak, that he was like a mad person, that he was not having that wisdom that a child should have. To her, to his mother, his head seemed much too large. The head of Albert Einstein looked large to the mother, and that's why she thought that he was a freak. And there was no indication of that greatness. There was no indication that in his destiny it was written that he would be a great scientist. At the age of 2.5, Einstein still wasn't talking. So he did not learn to talk. He did not start talking like other children. Till the age of 2.5, he did not speak anything. When he finally did learn to speak, he said everything twice. He did not look like normal children, and he did not even look normal. So his mother thought that he was like a freak, and when he reached up to did not speak at all, and when he started to speak, he could speak everything, or he spoke everything twice, two times. Einstein did not know what to do with other children, and his playmates called him Brother Boring. He did not have many friends, and the reason for his not having so many friends, because he did not know what to do with children. He did not know how to play like other normal children. So the other children would call him brother boring, and they would tease him. So the youngster played by himself much of the time, because no other child of that locality, no other child of that city, in fact, would like to play with Albert Einstein, because Albert Einstein looked boring to them. That's why this youngster, Albert Einstein, had to play all by himself. He especially loved mechanical toys. He would play with mechanical toys, looking at his newborn sister, and when his sister was born, and when he looked at his sister, Maya, he is said to have said, "It is sad that looking at his sister, he told, or he asked, fine, but where are her wheels?" When he looked at his sister Maya, he told that it was fine. And he asked, where are the wheels? So, where were the wheels of the child? Because he loved mechanical toys, and he thought that the girl should act like those toys. She should have wheels. Otto Neugebauer, the historian of ancient mathematics, told a story about the boy Einstein that he characterizes as a legend. This historian, Otto Neugebauer, he told about the character of this legend, about the character of Albert Einstein, but that seems fairly authentic. And whatever he said that he was a legend. And this comment of his looked quite true. It looked to be right. As he was a late talker, his parents were worried. His parents were worried about his condition, because he started to talk at the later phase of his life. He started to talk when he reached 2.5. At last, at the supper table one night, he broke his silence to say, and when he spoke one night, everyone, they were having their supper, and then Albert Einstein spoke. And he spoke, the soup is too hot. He spoke about the soup. It was hot that day, and he spoke for the first time, greatly relieved. His parents were relieved greatly. They were happy that at last the boy spoke something. And his parents asked him why he had never said a word before, why he did not say a word before. Albert replied, and what was his reply? Because up to that time, everything was in order. He said that he did not speak earlier because he did not find any need to speak. Everything was normal, but that day something abnormal happened. The soup was hot, that's why he had to open his mouth. A headmaster once told his father that what Einstein chose as a profession wouldn't matter, because he will never make a success at anything. In school, he was like normal children, and there are so many subjects that he liked, and so many subjects uh, were there that did not interest him at all. That's why his headmaster once called his father and he told that Einstein would not do anything in future. He could not be a successful person. He told that whatever subject he would take, whatever profession he was going to take, Albert Einstein would not make a good and successful person. Einstein began learning to play the violin at the age of 6. When he was 6 years old, he started learning to play violin because his mother wanted him to. His mother wanted that he should learn to play violin. That's why he started to play violin. He later became a gifted amateur violinist, and he was also an amateur violinist. He would play violin good, he would play it better, maintaining this skill throughout his life. And throughout his life, he maintained this skill, the skill of playing violin. So he was a good violinist. But Albert Einstein was not a bad pupil. We cannot say that he was a bad student. He was a bad disciple. So he was not a bad disciple. He went to high school in Munich, where Einstein's family had moved when he was 15 months old. When Einstein was 15 months old, his parents shifted to Munich and he went to high school in Munich. And he scored good marks there. In almost every subject he scored good marks. So we cannot say that he was a bad pupil. Einstein hated the school's regimentation. He did not like the order, he did not like the excessive discipline or the extreme order in schools. And often he clashed, often he had a row, often he quarreled with his teachers about such regimentations, about such rules. At the age of 15, Einstein felt so stifled, he felt so suffocated, he felt unable to breathe there in that atmosphere of the school that he left the school for good. He left the school for good forever. The previous year, Albert's parents had moved to Milan and left their son with relatives. After prolonged discussion, Einstein got his wish to continue his education in German speaking Switzerland, in a city which was more liberal than Munich. The parents of Albert, they shifted to Milan the previous year and they left their son with relatives. The boy Einstein did not remain there with his parents, and after prolonged discussion, he discussed for a long time. Einstein got his wish to continue. He wanted to continue his education in German speaking Switzerland. He wanted to continue his education in a liberal atmosphere. So he wanted to go to Switzerland because that city, Switzerland, it was more liberal than Munich. It was more of the type in which people respect different types of beliefs. They are not orthodox, they are liberal. So he decided to go there to Switzerland. Einstein was highly gifted. He was highly gifted in mathematics. So he was highly talented in mathematics and interested in physics as well. And after finishing school, he decided to study at university in Zurich. He decided to study at university in Zurich after finishing his school But science wasn't the only thing that appealed to the dashing young man with the walrus mustache. We cannot say that he was a scientist, so he did not have any other interest in him. He, as we have earlier read, he was a good violinist, and other things were also there that interested this scientist. But science wasn't the only thing that appealed. It was not the only thing that attracted the dashing young man, that attracted this spirited person with walrus mustache. He had got walrus mustache, so he did not like only science, he did not like only maths, he liked so many other things. He also felt a special interest in a fellow student, Leva Marek, whom he found to be a clever creature. This young Serb had come to Switzerland because the university in Zurich was one of the few in Europe where women could get degrees. We know that Switzerland is a liberal country. That's why in Switzerland, women were allowed. Those days, women were allowed in Switzerland, in Zurich, to continue their education, and he met Mileva there in Switzerland. And he started liking that girl. He said that girl to be a clever creature because she was intelligent. Einstein saw in her an ally, he saw in her a friend against the Philistines. He found that other people, other relatives of his, they were Philistines. They did not like literature, they did not like music, they were orthodox. And that girl, Mileva, she was liberal, she was having good thinking. That's why Albert found in Mileva a good friend of his. Those people in his family and at the university, in his family, the people in his family, so many people in the university with whom he was constantly odds. He was constantly at odds. He was constantly in disagreement. He was constantly in conflict with those people in university and also in his family. And he found those people Philistines. That's why he liked Mileva, because she was liberal. The couple, Einstein and Mileva, they fell in love. They started loving each other. Letters survive. Letters or love letters that they wrote to each other, in which they put their affection, in which they put their feelings in words, mixing science with tenderness. And in their letters, we could find science, and we could also find tender feeling of love also. Wrote Einstein, how happy shall be, proud I shall be when we both have brought our work on relativity to a victorious conclusion. So, in their letters, in which they express their affection, in which they express their feelings, in those letters as well, they talked about science as well as their tender feelings. Because one instance is written here. In one of the letters, Einstein expressed his wish to join Mileva, to marry Mileva, because he wanted to carry on his theory, to carry on his experience, his experiment on the theory of relativity. That's why he wanted that ally. He wanted Mileva. He wanted the help of Mileva there. In 1900, at the age of 21, Albert Einstein was a university graduate and unemployed. In 1900, he completed his graduation and he did not get any job. And after that, he worked as a teaching assistant. He gave private lessons as well as a private teacher. And finally, he secured a job in 1902. And that job was as a technical expert. So he became a technical expert in the patent office in Bern. In Bern, there was patent office, the office in which the things in which the innovations or the experiments of different scientists come and they are tested there and they are legally assigned to their owner. So that is called patent office. A document, patent is a document which gives the rights of an invention to an inventor. So legally, those inventions are to their inventors when those inventions are done patent. While he was supposed to be assessing other people's invention, because he was there in patent office, he was their technical expert, and it was supposed it was supposed or it was thought of him that he should assess, he should estimate the inventions of other people, because other scientists would bring the inventions and he would have to assess those inventions. So that was his duty. Einstein was actually, and what he was in reality doing, he was developing his own idea in secret. He was developing his own theory while assessing the theories, while assessing the inventions of other scientists. He is said to have jokingly called. It is said that he jokingly called his desk drawer. He jokingly called his seat where he would sit there, where he would assess the inventions of other people. So he would call that drawer in which he would keep all those things of other scientists at work, the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. So he would call his desk drawer the Bureau of Theoretical Physics, because whatever theories he would have, those theories are created. Those theories were built because of those inventions brought by other scientists. That's why this desk drawer or his desk drawer was called the Bureau of Theoretical Physics. One of the famous papers of 1905 was Einstein's special theory of, relativity, according to which time and distance. So, so, so Einstein in 1905 he published in a paper his theory of relativity, and in his theory of relativity it is mentioned that that time and distance that were considered earlier as absolute, but he said or he proved that time and distance were not absolute. They can be changed. They were not complete in themselves. Indeed, in reality, two perfectly accurate clocks, and he gave the example as well. He said that if two accurate clocks are put to a journey and one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other, when they come together, the time in both of watches would change. The time would not be accurate. So, this was the example. He said that if two perfectly accurate clocks, they were set to a journey, when they come together again, they will not continue to show the same time. There will be difference in the time of both the watches, though in the beginning of the journey the time was accurate. Both the clocks would show the same time, but after the completion of the journey, if one of the watches has been moving very fast relative to the other, the time will be changed. From this followed the world's most famous formula. And from this theory, or from this example, followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. And the formula is E is equal to mc square. In this mathematical equation, E stands for energy. So energy is equivalent to m for mass and c for the speed of the light in a vacuum, about 3 lakh kilometers per second. So this was the formula that was created. When you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, and another example given by Albert Einstein about relativity, and this is from our general life in order to understand relativity better. When you sit with a nice girl for 2 hours, it seems like 2 minutes. When you sit on a hot stove for 2 minutes, it seems like 2 hours. So, time and distance are not absolute, because when we are in a good situation, when we are in the surrounding that is good to us, when we are somewhere that interests us, so the time seems to move very fast to us. But when, as it is given here, when our hand is on a stop, so 2 minutes even look as if they were 2 hours. So here the relativity is presented by Einstein. Okay, here Einstein gives the example of relativity. Time and distance are not absolute. While Einstein was solving the most difficult problems in physics, while he was working on his theories, his private life was unraveling. His private life started to fail. Albert had wanted to marry Mileva. He wanted to marry her right after finishing his studies. But his mother was against it. His mother did not want the marriage to take place. She thought, the mother of Einstein thought Mileva, who was 3 years older than her son. She thought, Einstein's mother thought that the girl was too old for him, that the girl was so old for Albert Einstein that she could not marry him. She was also bothered by Mileva's intelligence. Einstein's mother was also worried. She was bothered. She was worried about the intelligence of Mileva. And she thought, or she told, that she is a book like you. She told that she was a bookworm. She was bookworm like Albert Einstein. His mother said. Einstein put the wedding off. So because of Albert's mother, the wedding was postponed. Though it was not cancelled, it was postponed. The pair finally married in January 1903, and they had two sons also. But a few years later, after a few years of marriage, the marriage faltered. It collapsed. It became weak. So the marriage could not last longer. Mileva, meanwhile, she was losing her intellectual ambition because she was an ambitious girl. She was also intelligent like Albert Einstein, and she was losing that intellectual ambition of herself, and she was becoming an unhappy housewife because she was not happy remaining in the house. After years of constant fighting, they continued to fight for many years, the couple, and after many years fighting, after many years relationship that was not good, they finally divorced in 1919. Einstein married his cousin Elsa, and after their divorce, Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. Einstein's new personal chapter coincided with his rise of world fame. His personal chapter changed because he married Elsa, and his rise to world fame coincided. His rise to world fame also happened at the same time. In 1915, he had published his general theory of relativity, which provided a new interpretation of gravity. His theory of relativity gave a new explanation of gravity. An eclipse of the sun in 1919 brought proof that it was accurate, that his theory of relativity was accurate. It was proved by the eclipse of the sun in 1919. And how was it proved? Einstein had correctly calculated in advance. In advance, he had told, or he had calculated the extent to which, the degree to which the light from fixed stars would be deflected through the sun's gravitational field. So he had correctly calculated the degree to which the light from the fixed stars would be deflected, would change direction through the sun's gravitational field, and this was exact. The newspaper proclaimed, one of the newspapers it proclaimed his work, the work of Einstein, as a scientific revolution. It proclaimed that the work of Einstein revolutionized the scientific world. Einstein received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921. He was showered with honors and invitations from all over the world. After getting Nobel Prize for Physics, he got renowned, and he was also praised by the press. Now he got honors, he got invitations from all over the world, and also Newspapers praised and admired him. When the Nazis came to power in Germany, and now in Germany, Nazis came to power in 1933, Einstein emigrated to United States. He went to United States to live. 5 years later, after 5 years, the discovery of nuclear fission in Berlin had American physicists in an uproar. When the nuclear fission was discovered in Berlin, the American physicists, the American scientists, they were all in an uproar. They were all upset because, being scientists, they knew the result of nuclear fission. Many of them had fled. Many scientists went away from fascism. Just as Einstein had, Einstein also went away from fascism, and now they were afraid the Nazis could build and use the atomic bomb. And now the scientists, they had the fear that the Nazis could build and they could use atomic bomb. At the urging, at the request of a colleague, at the request of one of his friends, Einstein wrote a letter to the American president of that time, Franklin D. Roosevelt. So Einstein wrote a letter to Franklin D. Roosevelt on 2nd August 1939 in which he warned a single bomb of this type exploded in a port might very well destroy the whole port together with some of the surrounding territory. In that letter, it was a warning, and in that letter, he told about the destructiveness of atom bombs. He told that if the atom bombs exploded in a port, the port would, and also the surrounding territory of the port would be destroyed. His words did not fail to have an effect. His words put an effect, though the effect was on the wrong side. He wanted to warn President Roosevelt against atom bomb, but what happened? Though his words affected affected the president, but the Americans developed the atomic bomb in a secret project of their own and dropped it on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. So, despite the warning of the scientists, despite the warning of Einstein, Americans built, they created an atom bomb, and they also dropped the atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki as well in August 1945. Einstein was deeply shaken. He was really hurt. He was shocked. He was hurt by the extent of the destruction, by the degree of the destruction, how much destruction had been created there in Hiroshima and, and Nagasaki. This time he wrote a public missive. Now, this time he did not write a secret letter. He write a public letter to the United Nations. In that letter, he proposed, he gave a proposal of formation of the world government. He gave a proposal that there should be a world government. Unlike the letter to Roosevelt, this one made no impact. The letter to Roosevelt impacted the president. because Roosevelt, he decided to make such a bomb. But here, this letter, the second letter, it was a public letter, and this letter, this missive, did not put any impact. It did not put any emphasis. It proved in vain. But over the next decade, over the next 10 years, Einstein got ever more involved in politics. Now he decided to enter politics, and he involved in politics, agitating for, he was campaigning for an end to arms buildup. He wanted that the nations, that all the countries of the world should stop building arms, and using his popularity to campaign for peace and democracy. And he used his popularity, using his popularity, he campaigned, or he continued his campaign for peace in the world and for democracy, for the establishment of democracy. When Einstein died in 1955, at the age of 76, he died. He was celebrated, he was renowned, he was famous as a visionary. He was famous as a visionary because he had a good vision of the world. He wanted to change the world, he wanted to change the scenario of the world. And he was also called world citizen. He was called world citizen because he did not think only for his own nation. He was thinking for the humanity in general. He was thinking for the world as a whole, as much as a scientific genius. And he was also famous as a scientific genius, as a genius in the field of science. Now let's know the message conveyed through the chapter. By reading the chapter, we come to know that it is not as though great people, extraordinary personalities, and exceptional intellectuals are born with a special sign that allows us to recognize them. In this chapter, it is quite clear that extraordinary personalities, that great persons, they, when they are born, there is no sign that such an extraordinary personality has been born there. It tells us that a truly beautiful mind has got innovative ideas and also has the mindset to spread democratic ideas and fraternity in the world and promote human welfare. There are so many scientists in the world, but not all are called beautiful minds. They are not called beautiful minds because they only have got innovative ideas. But on the contrary, Albert Einstein, he had got innovative ideas, and along with those innovative ideas, he had the mindset that he wanted to spread democratic ideas, he wanted to spread fraternity in the world. And this humanitarian attitude of his makes him a truly beautiful mind. The chapter shows how science can prove to be destructive, bringing about havoc, chaos on the earth, inventing powerful weapons like atom bombs. In this chapter, it is quite clear that science can also prove to be destructive. Science can create, can invent so many things that are harmful for human beings. Science have created so many weapons that can create havoc on this earth, that had create destruction on this world or in this world, like atom bombs. We have seen what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The destruction has got its impact till now. We come to know that science, with all its inventions, should only work to promote widespread peace and prosperity. We know that scientific inventions can create destruction in the world, but science can also work to promote worldwide peace. Science can work to promote prosperity. It can work for the development, for the society. So overall, the chapter was really good one, and we have got a great message that in order to be a truly beautiful mind, we should have innovative ideas along with humanitarian attitude. By humanitarian attitude only, the whole world can survive. So thank you for watching the video patiently. I hope you have understood the topic well. So like and share the video, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you with a new video on a new topic. Till then, bye.